All right, so it says I am live. I haven't done a YouTube post in quite a while, and thought I would go ahead and do a little recap on Star Trek Vegas, which I just came back from 2 days ago because today is Tuesday, and I wanted to kind of get some information out there before it was kind of all faded away. Still seeing a few Star Trek Vegas videos out there, so I'm hoping I'm not too late and wanted to give some of my thoughts and my insight. And also because I have a podcast coming up. I was a, excuse me, I am a guest host for the Rogue Radio podcast with my friend Dave Beatty. It's his show, and it looks like I might be doing some more podcasts with him. And he's actually working on editing it right now. We recorded it last night, and I went into a lot of detail about my experience. Like I went through every panel I went to, the parties I went to, interesting people I met, interesting stories. So that's going to be much more detailed video. What I thought I would do in this video is, I'm sorry, that's not going to be a video. That's my point. It's a podcast, so it's audio only. So I thought I would do a video where I can actually show some of the things I picked up at the con, kind of do a little bit more of a, I guess, freewheeling kind of discussion about what I saw and also what I'm hearing. Because what's kind of nice about doing this video here on Tuesday is there's already other videos out, and I can kind of comment on what people are saying and give my sort of opinions on what their opinions are. So once again, I do want to announce that there's going to be a much more detailed audio podcast. It's from the Rogues Radio podcast with my friend Dave Beatty. Dave Beatty is a very very good comic book artist who's worked for Marvel and DC, worked on titles like Batman, Wonder Woman, all sorts of cool stuff. And he does his own comic book called Red Skirts, which a lot of Star Trek fans might be interested in because Red Skirts is sort of a parody of just about every different kind of sci-fi you can think of. Obviously, heavily influenced by Star Trek because Red Skirts is kind of a play on red shirts, and these, of course, are women characters, and so they're red skirts instead of red shirts. It's a really fun comic book series. It is available online for free. They do have hard copies that they sell at events and things like that, but Red Skirts is available for free. Encourage you all to check it out because it is a lot of fun. It's a great comic book series. The art is amazing. It's funny, and it's not just Star Trek. They do stuff from all sorts of different sci-fi genres and things like that. And they were doing this book before Orville ever came out, which is also interesting. Before Lower Decks comes out, they were doing this stuff. And if you have a chance, please go ahead and check them out. So, Star Trek Vegas. I think let's start as far as the visual aids here. Here is the program from Star Trek Vegas. That's the front cover. As you might imagine, Discovery was heavily promoted at this event, very heavily promoted. Here's the back cover, though, which is my preference personally. Sorry if it's all reversed for you guys, but this is the back cover. They were pushing Star Trek a little bit as well, but the major push definitely was for Discovery. I'm more interested in Picard. I'll tell you right off the bat, I have not subscribed to CBS All Access. I saw the pilot for Discovery because that was actually broadcast on the regular CBS network. So I did see that. And I also saw the first episode of the second season of Discovery because that was on YouTube. In addition to that, I've seen a lot of clips. I've seen a lot of the trailers, things like that, a lot of the spoilers. So I know a lot about Disco, but I definitely wouldn't call myself a fan. And my biggest issue with Disco, and I'll have the same issue with Picard, is the paywall. I don't want to pay for another service. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going to do it for Picard. I'm going to do it for Picard, and I think I'm going to do it for Lower Decks. And I'll get into that a little bit as this progresses. I'll try to keep this fairly short. I don't want to do these super long, I don't want to do a super long video because my podcast is much longer. I think it's near 2 hours because I kind of break down the entire convention. So I'm going to focus on the visual stuff that I have here. I had in the thumbnail, this is a little print that I picked up. It's kind of nice. You know, I love Scotty, and this was at the Roddenberry booth, and they were giving these out for free, which you don't get a whole lot of free stuff at at an official Star Trek convention. That's just the reality of it. It is expensive. I will tell anybody who's never gone, it is expensive, especially if you want to get autographs, want to get pictures. I personally am not really into autographs, but I like to get pictures. And I'll tell you one thing about the picture experience. Well, I'll go specifically to that picture experience that I have in a little bit. So anyway, I did get this little print for free, and I dig it. The original Star Trek is my favorite Star Trek by far. I did get an autograph though. That was from Erin Eisenberg, who played Nog, and he was there promoting his podcast. It's called The Seventh Rule, and if you notice here, there's a familiar face that's also part of his podcast, and I always mess up his name. It's Sirach Lofton. That's the person who played Jake. So Jake and Nog are back together, and they're actually doing a podcast together. And I actually saw walking around the official guest, but he was actually walking around, and I said hi to him. He acknowledged me, which was nice. But that was kind of funny because he was there, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there officially. Erin Eisenberg had a table there. I'll tell you another great thing about Erin Eisenberg. A lot of these actors, which, it is what it is, they charge for selfies. If you go up and you just ask to take a picture with them, they charge for that. And he doesn't. Erin Eisenberg doesn't charge for selfies, which I think is really awesome. And it makes it much less intimidating to go up to his table and just ask a question, because that's one thing. If there's a celebrity in the actual vendor room, a lot of times they're kind of sitting around and they might have a big line, but there's lulls, especially if they're in the room for more than an hour or whatever. There'll be lulls, and it can be a little bit weird because you're kind of thinking in your head, should I really go up to this guy and say anything, because I know he's trying to sell stuff. If I'm not buying anything, is he going to be mad at me? And I did actually go up to Jonathan, and I did get to ask him a question, and I talk about it in the podcast. I did get to ask him a question, and it was a fan question, and he was really nice to me. So I will say that that might be a little tip there, is if you do see somebody that's set up at the table, be courteous about their time and stuff like that, because they're trying to sell stuff. That's the bottom line. And like I said, with the selfie thing, it is what it is. But like I said, again, Erin Eisenberg doesn't charge for selfies, and he's promoting his little podcast, The Seventh Rule, which they are doing reviews of. They were doing reviews of Disco episodes together, and now they're doing reviews of Deep Space Nine, which apparently they didn't watch a lot of Deep Space Nine. You hear that from actors a lot, that they didn't actually really watch their own series. So I guess they're watching it together and they're commenting on it, and it sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe they'll do some other stuff. I think it'd be cool if they did some, like, maybe Orville stuff, or did a series they weren't even on. I think would be really cool. Let's see what else. So we're talking about Picard earlier. I got this. This is the literature they had for the Chateau Picard wine. And what's interesting about it is the Chateau Picard wine is apparently like a real wine now. They actually found a vineyard in France that was I don't know if it's actually called Chateau Picard, but they found a vineyard in France that was willing to make this, so it's imported. Now it is going to be expensive. You can order it online. They were saying that you should probably pre-order it because of the fact that it's probably going to sell out once the show comes out. But it's $60 a bottle, but it is imported wine from France. I'm definitely considering it. I do like wine, so I'm considering it. But that's something that I saw there. They actually had displays of the bottle, and they also had displays of the bottle in the Picard museum, Picard First Duty museum that they had, which they also had at San Diego Comic-Con. And speaking of that, there has been some stuff on the web about people talking about that it seems like that CBS All Access kind of put everything into San Diego Comic-Con, and Star Trek Vegas kind of got the leftovers. And I would say that's probably true. Although I really liked seeing the Star Trek Picard exhibit. It was really cool. I actually took a lot of pictures. I have a video on my Twitter feed. My Twitter is at basegod14.com. So that's at BASSGOD14. I took some video. I streamed some video of that exhibit. I have a bunch of pictures. I'll probably post more of those pictures later. But it was a really cool exhibit. And apparently everything in that exhibit is a prop from the new show. So they are actual real props, not reproductions. They're props that are being used on the new Picard show. And some of them were really, some of them were really, really cool. Like they had the flute, the Resican flute and stuff like that. But I will say that As far as the new shows go, Discovery, Star Trek Picard, even Lower Decks, all the information, I pretty much knew all the information already that they were giving out because I had followed the information at San Diego Comic-Con. So that was a little bit disappointing, and I will say that it was a little bit disappointing. But I also say this: Star Trek Vegas isn't really so much about those kind of spoiler things. Obviously, last year, I mean, it was really big when Patrick Stewart kind of surprised everybody because he wasn't a guest and he announced the Picard show. That was a really big deal, and I think a lot of people were kind of hoping for that again. And there was no moment like that this year. But the really cool thing about Star Trek Vegas really is being able to interact with the other fans and talk to them and get in little debates about what's your favorite Star Trek, what's your favorite captain, what about this episode, what about this contradiction? Because I love talking about lore, I love talking about canon, um, I love talking about that kind of stuff, and that's one event where you can really do that. So as far as some of the other stuff I got or was interesting, I will kind of mention the Hero Collector, and they are doing a promotion that's related to the con. Um, I have the issue that as far as getting stuff, I already have a lot of stuff and it's in storage, and I don't have any place to display it. And if I can't display it, I'm kind of like, why would I get it? But they had some nice little models that were like $20, and I'm really considering getting some of them, some nice ship models. They have bigger ones that are like $45. They had some good ones, and they are doing a promotion, a convention special. I don't know how long it lasts. Like on the other side of here, it says, let's see, let me see this. It says convention exclusive, collect your favorites and get 15% off, no exclusions. Use the code STLV19. So STLV19. If you go to it's Hero Collection, it says shop eaglemoss.com. Thought I'd give them a shout out because I saw a lot of their models and they were really cool. They had a model that was it was basically a concept. It was from a concept art piece of what the Enterprise was supposed to look like. And it was really cool because it was much more, I think, realistic. It was the spherical design. Like if any of you know about like how artificial gravity would actually work in space, that's usually like a circle design that would spin, and that's how you get artificial gravity. And they had a ship that I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen the concept art for it, and it was really cool. And if you like Discovery, they have a lot of Discovery models, but they also have a lot of classic Trek models. Had a really good Klingon bird of prey. A lot of cool models there. Again, I probably would have bought some. Oh, they even have some, I think, Battlestar Galactica stuff. They have all sorts of cool stuff. So I thought I'd give them a shout out and mention that con exclusive discount. And I don't know how long it's going. It doesn't say on here. It just says online only, limited time offer, but 15% off. So remember that if you're interested in that. STLV19 Hero Collection models, and it looks like it's shop eaglemoss.com. Eaglemoss.com. So I thought with their booth, I thought was really cool. I got this pretty cheap. I got this at the William Shatner booth. William Shatner has a booth that he doesn't actually sit at, but he sells stuff at. He has people selling stuff for him. It's from williamshatner.com. And this is Chaos on the Bridge. And I got this for $5 at the williamshatner.com booth. And if you are a TNG fan, or if you are even if you're strictly an original series fan, but if you're a Next Generation fan for sure, this is a great thing to watch. I watched it before, I think on Netflix. I don't know if it's still available there, but it is really good because obviously they couldn't talk to Gene because Gene is dead. And the one criticism I'll give of this is there are some accusations against Gene, and he's not allowed to defend himself. But the cool thing about it is they talked to a lot of the other producers from the first two seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they talked to one producer in particular. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the one who actually came up with the Borg, and he has some really great insight. And he's also the guy who fired Gates McFadden. So it's got some really controversial, interesting insight in this documentary, and I really enjoyed it as far as sort of kind of seeing some of the behind the scenes of the Next Generation. Now, granted, I can't remember what year this was made in, but it was made way after the fact. And obviously, Gene isn't around to rebut anything on this. So that's the one caution I'd give you on this, but it's still very insightful and interesting. If you're a Star Trek fan, and if you're into behind the scenes like I am, you will be interested in this. And I got it for $5 on the floor. So if you can catch it online or something, or you can maybe order it from williamshatner.com. I don't know if they have the same discount on williamshatner.com, but I thought this was a good deal, $5 for this Chaos on the Bridge. Speaking of documentaries, I also got the one that I've been really anticipating. I wanted to watch this in the theater because it was in the theater for one day, and I was ready to go, and I ended up my plans fell through and I couldn't go. But this is the What We Left Behind DVD. I actually bought this from Erin Eisenberg. He had it at his table. A lot of the Deep Space Nine actors had copies of this at their tables, and this is a little more pricey. I think it was like $35, but I was okay paying more because I was buying it from Erin Eisenberg. I don't think it's anywhere near that amount if you order it online. And I'm not sure if it's available online yet, but I've been really anticipating this. I went to the panel about this, and it sounds like it's really good. I've heard a lot of good reviews from other fans that they really enjoyed this, so I'm looking forward to watching it. And I'm hoping that it's as good as everybody says. But it's the What We Left Behind Blu-ray, and this is the backers edition too, which is kind of cool. Even though I wasn't a backer, this is the backers edition. So I'm looking forward to watching this. It does come with Blu-ray and DVD. Actually, a fan at the convention when I was walking around with this asked me about that because they didn't have a Blu-ray player, and they were saying, do they have the DVD? And this one was a 2-pack, so it comes with the Blu-ray and DVD, which is kind of nice, especially since like in my house, I do have a Blu-ray player, but not every room in my house has a Blu-ray player. But every room in my house pretty much has a DVD player. So anyway, What We Left Behind, it looks really good. I'm hoping that it's really good. I might even just do a review of that, or even try to do a review on a podcast or something like that. I also got this is something interesting. I'm into filmmaking. I'm into scripts and things like that. And I got the Star Trek V script at the Roddenberry booth, and it was on sale for $4. Now it's kind of crazy because, I mean, sometimes they'll charge a lot for these things. There was another booth that was charging. Now they had different scripts, but they were charging like $20-$30 for a script. This was only $4, and it's apparently the full. It says revised and final. It says revised and final as of November 21st, 1988. And even though Star Trek V is not one of my favorite movies, but I will say this: it's also not my least favorite Star Trek movie either. I'm interested in it, so because I like this kind of stuff, and for $4, I thought I can't pass this up, you know. So I'm kind of excited about that. And if anybody knows, the story is actually partially by William Shatner. He's one of the people credited with the story. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I'm hoping. Well, I know what the movie is, but it'll be interesting to read the script. I like to see different, the different script formats that people use. Obviously, that's whatever was popular at Paramount at the time. So I'm interested in that, and that kind of stuff is fun. So I did get a few photo ops. I should actually say my friend got most of the photo ops, and I don't have them with me because the way they do it at creation events, they do a print. They actually do a glossy print of the picture for you, and they charge you $10 if you want the JPEG. Okay. But one thing that's really nice about what they do is that if you're doing a photo op, you can have somebody else in the photo with you, and they don't charge you for it. So in other words, 2 people are allowed to be in the picture with whichever actor you want to be with, and it's the same charge. They don't charge per person. Okay, so they charge for 2 people. Your ticket is good for 2 people. So my friend that I went with, he's my best friend. He got one for William Shatner. He got one for Walter Koenig, and he got one for Clint Howard. So we got pictures of all of them. And I did take a picture with my phone of all those pictures. I don't think I posted all of them online. I posted Shatner on my Twitter. I haven't posted Clint and Walter yet. I got to do that. But yeah, so I got pictures with them thanks to my friend. And I would give a shout out specifically to him, but he doesn't like to have any involvement with social media. He's off the grid. So I can't mention his name, but if he watches this, which usually he's nice enough to watch my videos, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. And then actually, he took a picture with me that I got. A picture that I bought myself was with Jeri Ryan. This is the ticket stub from Jeri Ryan, and you can see it was $75 for her picture. And one thing I want to tell you about pictures is just be careful about your expectations with the pictures because it's sort of a cattle call and they just kind of move you through. So you can basically say one thing to that actor, and if they're nice enough, they'll acknowledge you. Every time I've done to a picture, they've acknowledged me at least when I said something, so that's cool. But just keep your expectations low. But I will say with Jeri Ryan, she was a lot of fun because they her line is long. They had music going on to kind of keep the crowd engaged and stuff. And she's sitting down dancing around. She's very nice. She's a hugger, which is really cool. Some of these actors they don't want you touching them. They won't touch you. They have a strict no touching rule. But she hugs everybody, and she was really awesome. She talked to us, and I talked back to her. I made a dumb joke to her. She laughed at it, which really really made me feel good. And yeah, the my buddy's in the picture too, but he's Mr. Off the Grid, so I'm covering him up. But yeah, that's the picture I got with Jeri Ryan, which has got a lot of glare on it, so you can't really see it. But yeah, I did get a picture with Jeri Ryan. I did post it on my Twitter as well, and I just want to say that I thought it was really cool that she came. I know she was a late addition, and yeah, so that's the stuff that I got. And I wanted to mention that probably the biggest surprise for me at the convention was uh, they had the Lower Decks presentation on Sunday, and I really kind of dug the Lower Decks people. The main guy who was a writer from Rick and Morty, which I've never really watched Rick and Morty. I'm familiar with it, but I never really watch it. He apparently is a big Star Trek fan. He made everybody on the writing staff watch the episode Lower Decks from the Next Generation, which I always thought the Lower Decks episode on Next Generation should have been or I actually thought it was as a kid. I thought it was a backdoor pilot because I always thought that would have been a cool series on itself, where it was a focus on the junior officers, the guys doing all the work, and you only saw occasional cameos from the actual command crew. You know what I mean? So kind of like the other guys. If you've ever seen the other guys, because obviously with Lower Decks it's going to be comedic. Lower Decks TNG wasn't necessarily comedic. It had a comedic aspect, but it wasn't a comedy episode, if you will. There's actually a lot of drama in that episode. It's one of my favorite episodes, Lower Decks. So they did say that, yeah, he made everybody for the Lower Decks animated series, that the head writer creator, he made all of his writers watch that episode of TNG. So that gives me a lot of hope. And then also he said that the ship they're on, their specialty is second contact, which I thought was really funny and kind of clever. Kind of it gives me a real good idea right off the bat. Okay, I know what this show is going for. I know what this show is. It's going to be comedic. It's going to be funny, but hopefully also respectful, right? And he did mention also that they are looking at the possibility of having some Star Trek alumni in the show. So he's hoping for that. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. The cool thing about animation is you could actually have a Star Trek actor be on the show and play a different character. You could do that because it's voiceover, right? So that's not even a big deal. But I was kind of surprised about how much I was digging Lower Decks. The thing I was most excited about is Star Trek Picard. My hopes for Star Trek Picard are that I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very hopeful the show is going to be good. The props that I saw and things like that were really cool because they definitely fit with the history of Picard as it was shown on screen, the canon, if you will, which I'm big into canon, and so I'm encouraged by that. But I am also apprehensive. I do feel like it was one thing that was interesting was that there was like besides the creator of Star Trek Lower Decks, I don't think there were any major writers or producers at the Star Trek Vegas. I can't think of one. Now there may have been, like there may have been someone from Discovery or something like that. But and I did go to some of the Discovery panels, by the way. I went to Ethan Peck's panel, which was interesting for me, and I also went to, geez, I can't pronounce her name. The main star of Discovery, the one who plays Michael, Michael Burnham. I went to her panel, and I will say this too, because I always want to put this out there. Seeing them on stage and the way they talk and all that kind of stuff, they really seem like nice, genuine people. The way they were answering questions, all that kind of stuff. And even I would always say, even if you don't like the show or you think there's major problems with the show or major problems with their characters, don't make it personal about the actor. Don't make it personal when you're arguing with a fan about it either. I see a lot of that online, and I'm just like, there's no need for it. We can debate canon as much as we want. We can debate character arcs as much as we want. We can debate characters themselves as much as we want. And always have the classic who's the best captain debate, which is the best series debate, what's the best episode debate. And we can always say that, hey, I don't like this particular Star Trek, and this is why. Or I think this particular Star Trek kind of sucks, and this is why. Again, I think this is the best, and this is why. So those debates are fine. Just I would just say that did kind of what open my eyes a little bit more to the whole idea of be careful what you're saying about these people, because you don't know them. And the truth is, just remember this too. The truth is, the vast majority of Star Trek actors are not Star Trek fans. That's the bottom line. So just remember that they're actors. They're trying to make a character, and then they go on to the next character, or they go on to a different part of the business. So they're not necessarily Star Trek fans, and they certainly a huge amount of them didn't come in as Star Trek fans. So you got to cut them a certain amount of slack, because at the end of the day, it is a job to them. And even though people like me, are fanatical, I'm a total Trekkie. Um, I think you still have to kind of temper that. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit over that I wanted. I'm getting closer to the 30-minute mark, and I don't have any questions or even viewers right now. But hopefully, I'll get some playbacks on this and some feedback. Please comment. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out my Twitter. It's at BassGod14 at BASSGOD14 on Twitter. Oh, 14 on Twitter. I did post a lot from the convention. I think I still have some other pictures that I can post and things like that. And also check out the Rogues Radio podcast that'll be coming up. I'll try to put a link once I have one. It's actually supposed to be getting finished today, and I'll put a link on that. And I get way more into my convention experience and what I saw, what maybe concerned me, all that kind of stuff. I get into it. And I also get into my background. Dave gets into his background on it too, so that's kind of fun. So anyway, that's going to be it. And I guess I'll sign off with the live long and prosper.